the feed right now so that we can tell a few more of your friends about us, because one of the things we're going to be talking about today is how do people discover the Faster Masters podcast and the Faster Masters channel and the expertise that we share. And we'll get onto that a little bit later. Now, if you're a regular on the show, you'll know that we have a opportunity to donate and support us on fastermastersrowing.com/podcast. Donations start from $1 a month, and we are extremely grateful to everybody who supports us. Now, our regular segment about this past week, where Marlene and I talk about the work that we've been doing to more generally advocate for Masters rowing. Marlene, you can go first this time.
Well, I'm in the dog days of summer right now here in southern Quebec. We are having, after a very cold month of July, actually, we're having quite the heat wave, and been out on the water a lot. And, you know, I would say this has been a process week. So getting on the water, lots of practicing. U.S. Masters Nationals is starting today. So this is a big event. This is our first major event for Masters in the U.S. since COVID started. So a lot of people are in shock about being at a regatta again and kind of getting used to, like, oh my gosh, what should I do in the last 250? And I'm like, just stay clean. So I've been talking to a lot of our athletes who are racing there, and other teams that I work with who are racing there and who will hopefully have a strong presence. And so, you know, that's I'm going to be looking at results, and you can watch. For those who are interested, there are the feeds on YouTube, and day one of racing is already on YouTube. You just have to look up U.S. Rowing Masters Nationals, and you'll find it pretty easily. So it's lots of fun to see who your competitors are out there.
Yeah, and we have a little announcement for our subscribers. On the 15th of August, we are releasing into the regular programs ahead of the Charles training program. So whether you're an individual, a crew, or a club subscriber, you will shortly find that inside your login. And of course, if you would like to join us, we would love to have you on board. You can start your program at any time, and it just starts from the day you sign up. And when you sign up, you immediately get this month's program plus last month's program. And that rolls forward on the 1st of every month. So if you're thinking of doing a big head race this fall, or in the next coming couple of months, please look to that as a possible thing that will help you along in your regatta planning and preparation. Now, I've been doing a little bit of work in New Zealand. We've got our North Island Masters Championships coming up, and I have been also preparing for the annual general meeting of the Legion of Rowers. One of the things that we did this year for the first time was to run peer-to-peer coaching clinics for Masters. And we have just heard really exciting news that South Island Rowing are planning on having one of those locally for people who live in the other half of the country, slightly further from where I live. If you're from New Zealand, watch out for that coming up on your radar. It's likely to be September or October, I believe, and either at Ruatanipa or at Ashburton, I think. Anyway, more news on that locally.
Yeah, that's exciting. That, you know, they're happening. You were planning these for so long, and it's been developing, and now we're getting to the, you know, the stage of execution where the clinics are actually, you know, they're actually happening. So
yeah, for sure, it is exciting actually. Now, are we ready to roll forward to our special guest?
I think so.
Let's take a look. Oops. Isn't that a glorious video?
Hi, I'm Greg Upshur, the Mustang Chef. And today I'm going to cook for Marlene and Rebecca, and we're going to do a little race food. Hi.
Hello, Greg. How
I'm Greg
are
Upshur,
you?
the Mustang Chef.
Nice to see you. And Mustang, tell us where you are.
Hi. Okay, I got a little delay going on here, but that's
off,
fine.
Turn the volume off.
Mustang, tell us where you are.
Turn the volume off on here.
All right, I'm in Stockbridge, Michigan, and I am just adjusting our technical things here.
Absolutely.
Stockbridge, Michigan, and I'm not too far from the rest of the family that's been tuning in. So if you see some unusual names popping up, that would be probably my friends and family.
Great. Well, it's great to have you here with us on this first day of Masters Nationals. And so we wanted to ask you, can I call you Mustang or do you prefer Greg?
Oh, just don't call me late for dinner.
Oh, got it. Totally.
Greg's fine.
Well, we love having a master rower who is also a master chef. And so first off, why don't you tell our Masters rowing audience, how did you get into rowing and how did you become a chef?
Okay, so I'll answer the second question first. My neighbors back in the day owned a Greek restaurant, and I was like 14. So the only way I could work at that age was to hitch a ride with them into work. And I started messing around the kitchen. I came from a big family, and I stayed in kitchens through high school and through college, and I worked for some of the top chefs, and it just was one of the things that I could make money doing, so I stuck with it.
Cool. And when did rowing come into your life?
Well, all my life I've been fascinated with human propulsion. I like anything like riding a bike, swimming, running, and rowing came in much later after triathlon. I did like triathlon for about 15 years. And I got kind of burned out on it. I was wondering what I was going to do next, and I started rowing a 7-foot aluminum boat around a lake that finally I had to send to the salvage yard for recycling. Then I bought a 18-foot cedar strip canoe, and I put a sliding bench on it. It wasn't a sliding seat, it was a bench you could slide on, and I rigged some riggers on it. And I started rowing that, and I thought, okay, if I'm really into this, I'll move up to the next step. About every 2 years, I'd find another vehicle for the water that would go a little faster when I rowed it. I got some recreational shells that I patched up that I bought for like $500. Rode those for a while, and then I was in the Ann Arbor boathouse one day, and I ran into this master's rower, Caroe Stringwell, and she told me, "Don't waste any more time. Get a really nice shell and start rowing." So I did, and I ended up with a Hudson.
Okay.
That came from the Canadian national team, and I love it, and I've been rowing ever since. And that hasn't been that long. I've only started competing like 4 or 5 years ago, so rowing came very late for me.
Well, that's the beauty of rowing or sculling, is that you can learn it at any age, and we can row for many years. So you have a long career ahead of you if you play your cards right. I would say.
Yeah.
Well, I was excited about your message that you got into the head of the Charles. What's your reaction to that?
I don't know. I've been trying for like 5 years. It was kind of those things where, I swam the Hudson, I swam the Delaware, in triathlons, some other bodies of water, Detroit River. And after swimming the Hudson, I thought I'd rather be on top of the water than in it.
I agree.
So I thought, gosh, rowing the Charles in Boston, it's like, to me, was like, the Boston Marathon of rowing. So I thought, That sounds like a good goal. And I put it a few years out, of course. I thought I'm going to go for that, see if that piques my interest and keeps me going. Because for me, rowing is setting a goal and going after it. But really, it's the journey on the water, as you know, that makes it so great.
Oh, absolutely. And, aiming for your first head of the Charles, that's definitely a rite of passage, I think. However, at whatever level you go down the course, just to be there and be part of it, is definitely a very large part of the rowing culture. So we're going to talk about race food today because this is the first day of Masters Nationals. And do you have some tips for people, Greg?
Oh, yeah. Don't eat something the day before that you normally don't eat and you don't know how your body's going to react to it. What I'm making today is going to be a nice garbanzo bean salad, which is light and cleansing, but gives you some power.
Mm-hmm.
Like you would eat for lunch the day before. You want to stay away from heavy, gunky foods at night because, as you know, those things can bind you up and make your next day a little harder to deal with. Like I said, you don't want to go eating things that you normally wouldn't eat, that you know how you're going to react to it. You want to stay with things you know that are tested and true for your own system. And you should probably eat a little more than you think you should. You shouldn't be worried about watching your weight the day before the race because you're going to use up so much energy just thinking about it and prepping for it, even if it's a short race. Unlike a triathlon where you're just eating so much more for a long race, you have to eat for all the prep you're going to do before you get in that rowboat. You don't want to be bonking in your shell.
Right. Absolutely. What would you consider gunky food?
Pizza.
Okay. High fat food, fried foods.
Yep. Exactly.
What else might be terrible?
Okay. Yep. It's what I call blood sludge. Anything that'll slow you down.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there are some Masters Nationals athletes. They do have lightweight categories at Masters Nationals, which is not typical in other events. So, there are some people who do have to make weight, but not most of them don't. And I think, tips about easily digestible foods, things you commonly eat. People are traveling and they haven't traveled for a long time. So they're also going into unfamiliar restaurants. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, maybe many people have not been in restaurants, have not been eating out away from home all that much. That could present another issue.
So you're sitting a lot. If you're eating in restaurants, you're taking a lot of sodium. And I mean, you could pick up 2 or 3 pounds just from retaining water before the race.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Times 8 people in a boat.
Easy.
Yeah. So I think that's definitely good advice, is to watch the salt, but stay hydrated.
Right.
What kinds of food would be good for people to eat to stay hydrated if they just don't want to keep constantly drinking water?
Wow, that's a good one.
Because some people just get. I mean, we know to tell people keep a water bottle in your hand all the time, but there are people who just get tired of drinking water, and that's a real danger in a situation like Masters Nationals where you might be rowing 3 races in a day,
right?
And you're still, even when you're not on the race course, you're still taking care of boats, walking around, talking to people. You're outside. So, I think dehydration is definitely a danger.
Yeah, I think if you eat clean carbs, they're going to load your muscles and hold water for you.
Mm-hmm.
Pastas, rice, things like that. Those are going to hold water for you, so you stay hydrated. Anything like that that's clean. As far as drinking water, I mean, it's better to sip a lot rather than try to jug a lot.
Absolutely. Years ago when I was racing, one of our go-to foods, especially when we were traveling, was if you had to make weight as a lightweight, go-to food was steamed white rice.
Beans and white rice.
Yeah, or steamed white rice.
Oh yeah.
You know, if you had to have carbs for energy, and this is just around a regatta time. It's not your diet for all the time, but around regatta time, steamed white rice with no salt, so that you got your carbs, you had your energy, but you're not holding a lot of fiber that could upset your stomach or make you weigh a whole lot more.
Yep.
So tell us what's in your salad.
Well, the secret ingredients are the combination of really nice balsamic and tahini. These two make such a beautiful marriage. So I'm avoiding mayo or any saturated fats like that, and I'm using the tahini to give it a nice smooth and a good emulsification.
Tell people what tahini is. Some people may not know what tahini is.
It's just a ground sesame seed. Just that's basically what it is, ground sesame seed. And it's liquidy like that just from the oils and the seeds. So I get those vinaigrettes going, and what I do is I make this slurry, which is garlic, the cucumbers, and the onions. I get that going first. Then I'm going to add all these fresh herbs and stuff like that. I always use celery for crunch.
Crunch and water. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And taste, of course. Celery was so popular in England at one time. On a quiet day, you could hear them eating it across the countryside.
Well, I think I use celery a lot too, actually. As I told you in our correspondence over the years, that, you know, I consider myself a peasant cook, right? A peasant gourmet. And maybe actually one of the things we have in common is I actually learned how to cook in Greece, because I lived in Greece for a year when I was about 22, 23 years old. And I learned how to pick the fresh herbs from the mountains. And basically that was the first time I ever sort of devoted myself to any type of cooking. So we have a connection there too that I didn't know about.
That's fascinating. Yeah, it was Pete Fistaka.
Yes, absolutely.
Guy that would pick me up in the morning in his 57 Chevy.
Yeah, and you can't go wrong. I mean, with and I think with the salads, you know, the classic clean ingredients, you know, your good quality olive oil and good balsamic vinegar, lemon. Do you use any lemon in this salad?
I do. I don't know what happened to it. I didn't bring it out yet, but we don't have to worry about that.
We can wing it.
I'll add it later. I would like to say that all this fresh stuff is a direct result of me being influenced by a New Zealand chef. Yvonne Gill, who came from a sheep farm in New Zealand, was one of the first classes to graduate from Cordon Bleu, woman to graduate from Cordon Bleu. And she had a really, really special little place in the Detroit, Ann Arbor area. And I worked for her at a young age. And I just wanted to let our friend Rebecca out there in New Zealand know that I'm influenced by a New Zealander.
No, that is amazing. And, you know, when you go back, I think again, the fresh basil, it looks like you've got some fresh basil in there.
Yes, there is.
The fresh basil, fresh parsley, you cannot go wrong. I think those are one of the things that you must have fresh. Otherwise, it just doesn't do the trick at all.
There's a hornet.
Oh, we don't want to eat that.
It's gone.
That's added protein.
Yes, that's added protein in case you need more combined protein with your garbanzo beans.
So should we talk about what you eat the day of the race, the morning of the race?
Absolutely.
Okay. I like peanut butter toast. I make all my own sourdough bread, and I like peanut butter toast with 1 cup of coffee. And then I'll take a couple power bars, so to recharge just before the race. And I just keep hydrating with water. So I don't eat a lot the morning of the race.
Is that your normal breakfast on a training day?
Yes.
Okay. So you eat the same thing that you eat before you're going to go out and row on a regular basis.
Yep.
And I definitely think that makes a lot of sense. You do not want to experiment on race day. Packing food, I think, is really important, that people have a cooler and they keep their snacks with them as much as possible so that you can rest. You don't waste time going to the store. And you have exactly what you want. I usually have with me when I'm out rowing or coaching for a long time, because I actually coach from my single quite a lot. So there are days when I can be in my boat for 3.5 hours. And I keep little snack packs of almonds and dates with me.
Oh, yeah. 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 In my car, that's interesting. In my car, I keep a bag of walnuts and dates.
You see?
Seriously, I do.
Yeah, well, that's a Greek. You can't get more Greek than that. If you mixed it with a little honey, then it would definitely be a Greek recipe for you. But things like that. Another really good energy food during the day, if you don't have power bars or something like that, little boiled salted potatoes are terrific.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds
good.
Yeah, you just boil up some little young potatoes, and you can put them in a little plastic bag. You can keep them in your pocket. You can keep them in your little backpack. Lots of potassium, magnesium, good refueling carbs there too. So that might be a little bit hard if you're staying in a hotel, but you could microwave a potato if you had to in a pinch.
I love potatoes. So
Greg, what did you just add out of that jar?
Kara McKeechee, she's a world-class triathlete. She would eat a Hershey's bar before a race. That was her thing. A Hershey's chocolate bar.
Yep. Rebecca asked, what did you just put in the salad?
I put pickles and dill.
Okay, and what was in the jar?
This jar here. Oh, this is dill, dried dill.
Okay.
I didn't have any fresh dill, so I used the dried dill. So if you can look at this salad right now, you see how it has a little bit of a creaminess to it?
Mm-hmm.
That's the tahini.
Yeah, and tahini, when it gets mixed with another liquid, like if you mix it with a little bit of water or lemon, or in this case, we've got the vinegars in there, it'll start to whip up and get very creamy. It doesn't stay like a paste. It actually becomes, it has a really, really nice texture to it. And I mix it up sometimes just with a little bit of water, and then I use mostly fresh lemon as the liquid, and then a little salt in it to how you like it. And it's great on pasta. It's great as a dressing. You can make it as thick or thin as you want.
Yep. And the thing about this salad is it's satisfying. When you have the salad for lunch, you're good for a while.
Yeah, and you can keep it and chilled. And having something chilled, especially right now when it's quite hot outside, makes a big, big difference. Now, would you eat it right away, or would you let it set for an hour or two in the refrigerator before you eat it?
If it wasn't being viewed right now, I've already started eating it. I would be eating some of it at each stage.
Okay. You've got to make sure it tastes right.
Rebecca requested that we look at the Mustang. You want to do that real quick?
Absolutely.
I have the Mustang Chef.
Yes.
Let's just walk over there real quick. This is Upshur Gardens. These are my wife's gardens. They're experimental gardens for her business. She puts in flower gardens.
Mm-hmm. I think she grows fresh herbs also.
How nice to showcase them in your own backyard, so you
Absolutely.
can just have a gorgeous backyard with lots of different styles. Oh, look, here's the car. Let's go.
This is the Mustang of Mustang Chef.
This is a customized Mustang. It's got a custom paint job. And this car was given to me by Bill Ford from Ford Motor Company as a gift. I
Wow.
was a chef for 18 years. And one day he came home and he said, "You got to have a Mustang. You're a Mustang chef." Because I had just smashed mine into a deer.
Oh dear. Yeah. Well, that happens in Michigan.
So as long as I own this Mustang, I keep pushing Mustangs with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how long ago did you actually coin the name Mustang Chef?
13 years ago.
Okay. So it's been around for a while. So it's already a trademark.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yep. So,
And Mr. Ford, was that Ford of Ford versus Ferrari in the movie that came out recently?
great movie. I think I've watched it.
Is that the same guy that you cooked for?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Awesome.
Bill's not in that
Connection.
movie. Bill's the CEO of Ford Motor Company right now. He's not in that movie. But that is, yeah. So no, not him. I don't even know if he's still around.
I'll tell you, I can tell you an interesting Ford story as well. I've got one as well. In Vermont, and where Craftsbury is, which is up in northern Vermont, the town where Concept 2 is located is Morrisville, Vermont. And Craftsbury is maybe 20 minutes drive, a little bit past Morrisville. And where Concept 2 is Morrisville. And years ago, this was when Henry Ford was still around. He loved to go fly fishing. So Henry Ford would come to Morrisville, Vermont every year to go fly fishing. And the very first Ford car dealer outside of Detroit was in Morrisville, Vermont. And that Ford dealer is still there, right next to the stream, right next to the Lamoille River where he was fly fishing.
I did not know that.
And that is where Concept 2 is based. Yes, right there. You could walk from there to Concept 2.
That's amazing. I know the Fords are still very much into fly fishing. And then here's
oh, nice. Got to have the plate. Absolutely.
Okay, shall we go back to the food table?
Absolutely.
All right. So I found out about Marlene through her book, Tip of the Blade. I was reading The Boys in the Boat a few years ago because I was out rowing in my canoe and this elderly gentleman came by and the kayak. He goes, "Have you ever read Boys in the Boat?" And I go, "No." He goes, "Oh, you should read it." I said, "Okay." So I got that book. I read that book. And that was in the wintertime. I needed another book on my nightstand. And somehow the computer linked me up, all these books on rowing, how it does that. And I saw Tip of the Blade. So I started reading that. And I was so into the triathlon training books and Lance Armstrong's books. And so I thought, okay, here's a rowing book. Now I'm going to see if I can make myself faster just by reading this book. And I read it. I don't read a book like that. I kind of study it. So I'll have it on my nightstand for like a couple of years. And different things. No, seriously, I do. And I keep looking through it and reminding myself of things. And then I was, so that's how I knew the name Marlene. But then I was on the internet and I was reading an article about rowing. And it was one of Marlene's articles, but it was somebody else's name as author. So I found Marlene's email and I emailed her and I said, "Hey, somebody's using your name and I know it's from your book." Because
I forgot about that. I remember that. And I did. And you were by the way, you were right.
So I come into the kitchen at the Fords when I was cooking there, because this is a little ways back. I go, "Hey, guess what? I just became friends with one of the top masters coaches in the United States." And they're going, "Oh, that's so cool." So that's my story on how I got to know about Marlene. And then, I found out about the podcast and stuff through just, researching what's going on and stuff like that. So just being interested in rowing is how I found out about the Faster Masters. And that's my story on how I got to know you guys.
Great. Well, I remember with Tip of the Blade, the fun thing about that book is you can open it at any page and read it in any location. It's not a book you have to read from cover to cover because it's a series of articles and collected thoughts and articles. So you really can just, it's like a book. If you open it up, you'll find the page you need that day. Yep. And then another day you'll open it up and you'll say, oh yeah, that's what I needed. You know, I have books like that, like running books and things that you'll find, oh, that's what I needed today. Yep. But yes, you were right that there was a rowing club who published my rigging series, and I did contact them, and they had some Italian as the author. And I said, that Italian is not the author. I am the author. And this is, and I actually sent them the original article that was published in Rowing Magazine, but they didn't change it on their website. It still says the Italian. So,
right.
Oh, well. And well, now what would we serve our salad with?
This?
Yep. If you were going to put a side with it.
This salad for me is something I go into the refrigerator for when I'm hungry and I want to eat something that's good and filling that's going to get me through to dinner time. And I typically eat it straight up.
Yep.
Obviously, it'll go with anything.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
This is what we use for a lunch salad. My wife and I started doing a plant-based diet a month ago, actually. Some people call it a vegan diet. And so this salad's been kind of like a good filler when you don't know what to do. So I'm experimenting with the vegan diet because I've cooked for so many different types of diets. It's always fun to use myself as a guinea pig to see what these things are actually about.
Well, I like one of the videos you have on your YouTube channel is just about wellness and healthy living, and I like one of the advice tips that you give people is you don't necessarily have to start eating better and take little steps of just being conscious about what you eat. You don't have to go off and like do something really radical. Just look at what your family's diet already is. Look at what your like ethnic diet, your historical diet is, what types of things you eat, and just start to make little steps to clean those up. Like, you know, how would somebody, like, fats are a really big issue. Okay. Fats are one of the, like, probably the most dangerous things in our diet, right? And
right.
Bad fats, good fats. What kind of good fats should people emphasize?
Well, you know, science is changing every 5 years, of course.
Yes.
I like the taste of olive oil. I feel safe with olive oil. I do all my cooking with it. But that's not to say that coconut oil or flaxseed oil or another oil that is, you know, supposedly very good for you isn't good for you as well. But for my taste, when I'm eating, I like olive oil. I don't use butter or lard. I don't smoke cigarettes. Just kidding.
So but, you won't do very well in the head of the Charles if you smoke cigarettes.
I don't plan on doing very well in the head of the Charles anyways. I just want to do it. I'm a slow guy. I just raced against two of the top masters in the country last Saturday. Rich Anderson and Monty James. I always, it's like two first names. And those guys are like, they're really good. They're going to be in nationals this weekend.
Oh, well, we'll track them down. We'll watch for them.
Yeah, I asked Richard Anderson. I go, hey, how's my time? He goes, you're slow.
Oh, gee, great. How encouraging.
But I bet I had as much fun as they did.
Well, I think our tips for you would be, you know, racing is a very personal process as far as we're concerned. And, you know, your goals and how you have to get out of it what you want to get out of it. And, you know, when you see somebody go down a course, you have no idea what their goal is. You have no idea where they are in their process of learning to row or learning to race. And, you know, I think coming away with a row that you're happy with, that you did the best you could on the day, you know, that's always the goal. You can't do better than that. You know, if you can execute where you're at and come away feeling good about it and saying, I wanted to nail that Cambridge turn and I did really well on that turn, or I did really well on the steering, or, I had good releases and I had a good rhythm. It's definitely much more process oriented, because racing is not only about winning. I mean, only one person can win, but it's about challenging yourself. So I think having that is it's a great focus between now and the late October. So that'll be pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about Masters, is that you get to compete. You get to go out there and set your goals. I don't care if it's swimming or triathlon or rowing. It's nice to have something like that to go to. We're very fortunate to even have a society where we have races like this, where we can come together with people that have some of the same interests as we do, and just get out there and have some fun and talk some smack.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Put on some Lycra and make the boat go as fast as you can on the day. But
I don't do the Lycra anymore. I use it. But yeah, even these two fast guys, I says, I hope you guys brought your A games today.
Absolutely. Well, there's a really funny book. You can look it up. It's called Southerners Don't Row. And Scott, who is the author, his wife was a really, really good Masters rower in Connecticut at Saugatuck. And he's a Southerner. And Scott learned to row because his wife Meredith was a rower, and I had a chance to teach him at a few different stages of his career at various camps. It is the funniest, most humorous book about learning to row. He's like, people down south, they don't row boats, they drive boats, and he takes us through his process of a Southerner learning how to row, and it's on, I think it's on Amazon. It is hysterical. So if you need a good funny read about just like the guy who like went from I drive motorboats to wow, I won a race, it's really quite fun, But
I want to say that I'm honored to be with you on the show today, the both of you, because I know how hard you've worked to attain the prestige and the awards that you've won, and I'm very honored to be and humbled to be on your show. I thank you for having me.
We are so happy to have you too, Greg. And I'd just like to set you straight. We have never won an award, but I think today we just won the Garbanzo Salad Award.
Absolutely. Definitely. Well, and I think it's important, we're about promoting wellness and promoting a healthy lifestyle and aging well, and food and diet is a huge part of it. If we don't eat well, we're not going to be in good shape, and we're not going to feel good. And if you don't feel good, you can't have a very active, dynamic life. So, I think, and we've definitely, and actually we just got a request yesterday about talking more about sports nutrition and healthy diets and racing food and things, things that are good for masters. And because our dietary changes, our needs do change a bit as we get older. So, those are things we might dive into in some future topics.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I can't eat like I used to, or drink beer like I used to. So yeah, you do have to change.
But you don't have to give everything up as long as you change in proportion to what your activity level is.
Right. Now I have to say that Alex Upshur, the guy who shot the video at the beginning and who's using the camera right now, I actually got, when he came out to shoot the shell yesterday, we rowing, I got him to sit in the shell and just sit in the shallow with the oars. And what do you have to say about that, Alex?
It's really impressive that you're able to stay afloat. It feels like a race car, and it'd be awesome to learn how to use one.
So I gave him open invitation to come out there anytime, and Let them roll.
Absolutely, Alex. No time like the present. Don't wait to try it, but do wear a swimsuit.
Yes, yes.
I was
It
laughing
is.
because he was in all clothes that he intended to keep dry, and I mentioned that he probably didn't do that in the beginning.
Right. Listen, you're not a real sculler till you've taken a few dips, and you know it's part of the game.
Yeah.
After that, you can relax because it's already happened. You know what I mean? You get through it, and well, Greg, I think this was absolutely awesome. And do you have any questions for us before we go off the air?
Yeah, I have a big question for you.
Okay, go for it.
I want an email
Yeah.
that critiques the film you saw of me rowing.
No, we can do that. We can
I
do
know
that.
you can.
We could do that.
I'm gonna focus on your finish.
Don't
Okay.
be too cruel.
Rebecca will shoot you a few comments, and I'll shoot you a few comments. We just
at me now.
we just tell
very sensitive.
we just tell the truth. And remember, it's not personal. We can say your oar is not coming out properly, or your blade is not doing it. It's not your identity. You don't have to take it personally. It's just a fact.
And the other question is, how did you like the sound of the blades on the water in that video? Did you notice?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Alex put that sound in.
Cool.
Yeah, it was shot with a drone, so everything was silent. So all the sound effects are added in.
No, the footage is beautiful. You can't beat drone footage. Absolutely. Drone footage is just gorgeous. So
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And it's nice as long as your drone doesn't crash into a tree or something like that. I do have some masters who like to do video reviews quite often, and they're experimenting with drones. And a few of them have ended up in the trees. So then they're like, oh no, I've got to buy another one. And so it actually that would be another interesting podcast topic, is how to shoot video with drones, right? I did an interesting experiment with a GoPro, which I haven't gotten to the end stage yet, but there's this little backpack you can put on with this tall thing that puts the GoPro camera, and it can follow you 360. So I put one on and went out for a row, and I've just gotten the footage, so I have to check out, and we'll see what it looks like. You know, it's another way to improve our technique.
I have one more question for Rebecca. When you go to the Henley, do you ever visit George Harrison's old place, the Beatles?
I drive past it. Yeah, I know exactly where he lives. One of my friends used to live in the street opposite, and in fact, I can top that. Years ago, I got a very last-minute call from my friend Alex. Would I do a little local head race at the next village up the River Thames from Henley? She couldn't make it at the last minute, and it was two elderly gentlemen from Leander Club, a lady called Anne, who was married to Steve Redgrave, and me. And our coxswain was George Harrison's son, Dani.
Wow. What a
he was
small
about
world.
17, 16 at the time. Yeah.
Wow, what a small world.
Yes. All right, I'll give you my Beatles story before we have to run. Okay. When I lived in St. John's, Newfoundland, okay, though this is back maybe early 90s. There was a guy named Tom McNally who was from Liverpool, England, which, of course, the Beatles Museum, the Beatles. Tom McNally, his goal was, he had set Guinness records and crossing the ocean. So he was in St. John's, Newfoundland, because he was preparing to go in this boat to set. Well, it's not a rowing boat. It was kind of like a cork boat. Okay, so this boat was actually like, it had a sail, but it was very small. This was going to be the smallest boat to get across the ocean the fastest. So this boat was a little capsule. Literally, he could not lay down in it. He had to go inside of it. It was like being inside of a bubble, but it did have a sail. And he was in St. John's, and he was sponsored by Ringo Starr and the Beatles Museum, and they were his big sponsors to help him try to do this Guinness Book of World Record attempt. And my husband and I worked for CBC Radio at the time, so we were covering him the whole preparation of this event, and the wind was always from the east. So it turned out that the whole summer it got delayed, and he could never get offshore because he had to go east, and the wind was wrong, and he had to abandon the whole attempt. But I mean, it was this like incredible feat. I mean, we launched him with this huge tall ship called the Scademia, and all the reporters and everything, and we launched him from St. John's Harbor, and he got out like one day, and then the wind blew him back. And then it would happen. We would think, okay, we could do it again. It would be the whole thing to launch him again, and then the wind would. I mean, the poor man. I mean, he spent all summer in St. John's, Newfoundland, and he ended up he had to leave his little boat there. That was literally, you could literally sit in it. He could not even lie down, and it was designed so that it would bobble like a cork. And if he was in a hurricane, he could just hatch it down and just go through that hurricane like in a bubble. I mean, it was so not something that I personally would like to do, but that's my Beatles story.
Good one. It's a good one.
Greg, it's been a delight. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, your amazing garbanzo salad. Let's zoom in for a final salad shot so we can see. There we go. Look at that, guys. Don't you just want to eat that?
It's what's for dinner tonight.
If you don't snack it in the fridge beforehand.
Right. If it makes it that far.
Thank you so much for coming on the show with us. It's been great having a new perspective, and love the drone footage, Alex. Thank you for being the behind the scenes cameraman.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. And we dedicate this demo to William Gregory tonight. A grandson of mine that's not feeling too good. We dedicate this video to him to make him feel better. I hope he can watch it.
Absolutely.
So this has been Faster Masters Rowing Radio with one of our more unusual shows, which has been great fun to shoot. And we'll see you all next week. Till then.
Bye.